What's up, my ninjas? It is time for Mat Therapy. I'm Donna Gonzalez. Thank you for coming to hang out with us today. I've got the beautiful Lee Syatt with me in the studio today, and we are all by ourselves.
Aw, so
sad. Why? Because Miss Beckson Violence is all the way in Miami. Becky's there along with our guest, the ghost, Daniel Perez, who is Demian Maia's first American black belt. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? How are you guys doing down there?
Good.
Staying dry?
For the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although you just go outside and stand there for a few minutes and you're pretty much soaking wet from sweating.
Okay,
so.
For everybody who doesn't know what's going on in Miami.
The weather.
That's just how y'all roll down there?
Just how it is.
Waiting on the hurricane later this week.
Yeah.
All right. What happens during the hurricane?
I might experience my first hurricane.
Do you still have class during a hurricane? Are you like, I don't care, come roll?
Yeah, I don't care.
Really? That's how it works. All right. Well, this is only about 10 minutes from where I'm staying, so at least I know I have somewhere to go.
Nice.
Just come roll for hours while that thing rolls through.
All right.
Sounds
awesome.
Sounds like a fun plan. Sounds like a fun way of getting through it.
And you're just down there visiting family, Becky?
Yep.
Hanging out?
I have a little sister who just turned 5 years old on Monday.
Aw, happy birthday to her.
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, tell everybody at home your journey into jiu-jitsu and how you came to be where you are running Sunset Mixed Martial Arts in Miami.
Actually, it's not Sunset Mixed Martial Arts anymore. It's kind of under my own name.
Oh, I apologize.
We've been here for about a year now, where I'm just doing it kind of my own thing. It's Daniel Perez BJJ.
Cool. Sorry.
I'm doing jiu-jitsu for about 13 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I just became Damian's first American black belt last year. I've been with Damian for about 6 years now, almost. And it's been an interesting journey for me. I started off with a local instructor here, and then he kind of moved off after my first 4 or 5 years. And I did a lot of traveling around the country and trained out in Cali, trained in Texas, all kinds of places. And, then I hooked up with Damian a couple years back, and ever since then, that's been my home, Now I travel wherever he is, either, Chicago, New York, wherever he's out training, getting ready for a fight, I'm usually there.
Oh, that's awesome. So how did you start your journey into jiu-jitsu? How'd you find the sport and what made you stick with it?
So I grew up boxing and stuff like that, so I thought I was a tough guy. And my first year in college, a buddy of mine goes, look, man, you got to come try this stuff out. These guys are going to fold you up into a pretzel. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, sure, why not? I was looking for, like, some kind of workout or something. I had gained the freshman 15 or whatever. And I went thinking, this is going to be no big deal. I'm going to, like, run through these guys. And I remember I got folded up for, like, 2 hours, walked out of there, could barely breathe or remember my name, and I was like, okay, I gotta learn this stuff. And that's it. I literally, after that, I was sold.
Nice.
It's been a 13-year journey since, and I think the least I've ever trained is...
Uh-oh, did we lose them?
That was quite a cliffhanger.
That was the least I've ever trained. Hold on, Danny and Becky, you guys got cut off for a second. Feed.
I think they're back.
The hurricane cut you guys off. How dare it?
Yeah.
What's the least you've ever trained?
Yeah.
Danny?
Yeah.
The sentence cut off right when you said the least I've ever trained is.
Least I've ever trained is probably like.
Oh
God, we're never gonna find out how.
Answer.
Okay, it cut you off exactly in the same place again. Say it one more time. The least you've ever trained is.
Are we good now? Can you hear us? Can you see us? We're good?
Good.
I think so.
Let's hope.
Okay.
Least I've ever trained since I started, probably 2 or 3 times a week, unless I was off with an injury or something.
We heard it! Yay! 2 or 3 times a week. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
What is it like training directly under like the amazing UFC fighter who's like well known for jiu-jitsu like that?
A legend, yeah.
Like a lot of people, a lot of fighters, it seems like get or start schools after they've finished competing, and Damian is destroying the UFC right now. Like it's not unreasonable that he could be a champ. So that's
well, I think he will be. I think he's going to be the next welterweight champ in the UFC. But what's weird about him is, I guess, the guy's so humble. He doesn't take any credit for anything. He's not one of these guys out there like
He's not
talking crap and
making,
talking it up.
Yeah.
But I've trained with a
Because he's not Irish.
Or rolled with anyone like him. I think he's top 10 ever.
Well, I mean, what was his last fight was Carlos Condit,
Yeah.
who is not a slouch on the ground
At
at
all.
Isn't
all.
Carlos a black belt himself?
Yeah.
He is a very good one.
Yeah. And look what he did to him.
I know.
Like, what was in the first round?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Super
He's
fast.
a beast.
He's probably, I mean, he's hands down has to be the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC.
I think he's definitely the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in MMA. And
Yeah.
I think if people knew more about him, they'd realize, man, this guy is one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just amazing.
So you said that you, when he's preparing for a fight, that you get to go. So are you his training partner now? Is it turned in from like now you were started as a
I'm
student?
too easy for him. I'm too easy for him. He typically he's out in like Jersey at Edge Hoboken, or he's over at like Marcelo's in New York now for the last few. So if he's in town and he's got a little time, he'll be like, hey, I'm here, come on down. There's only a handful of us here in the U.S. that teach for him. So there's me here in Miami, there's my buddy Willie in Oklahoma, there's Mark out in Chicago, the other Mark out in Massachusetts, and we just added some schools in Cali. We got the first
not
one
too far
in
from
LA
us.
just opened on Saturday, and we have one out in Napa. So
Awesome.
we all
Napa,
whenever we can
the
hop
wine
on
country?
and get together.
What was that?
Napa, the wine country?
Yeah.
No
Napa
kidding.
Valley,
I had no
BJJ.
idea.
Wow.
Yeah. The one that just opened here in LA is not too far from us at all.
Yeah, Billings.
It's probably 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But those are good guys, man. You guys should go down there, check it out.
We actually know them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're cool people.
They're awesome.
So I mean, what because when you say that you're training under Demian Maia, like how does that training change? Like how does it change from coach to coach? Like it seems it's a weird thing to be saying that you're trained under like a current UFC black belt, and I guess it's like just a continuation of the last question, but it's very not a lot of people can say that they're coached by a current UFC. Like it's how does that come in? Does that come in at all, or like are you currently training with him?
Whenever I can, and what's cool with Damian too is I've made a lot of cool connections through him. Like got Comprido out in Chicago, my friend Felipe Costa. He's got a lot of really good black belts too, and I guess the easiest place to fly from Brazil is Miami. So I've always got people running through the gym who are super high level, and they come in for a couple days or a week, kick my butt, and
Nice.
move on.
That's
That's
awesome.
pretty cool.
Do you have?
Do you feel-
Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Do you feel any different pressure being under such a name?
Yeah, I mean, especially him, he's so good. He's really, really up there. So it's you always feel like you have to represent him really well.
Right.
Everything I do whenever there and compete, I'm always pushing everybody. I feel like it's motivation to make sure I'm always pushing myself as hard as I can to make sure my jiu-jitsu is representative of my teacher.
Correct. Very nice.
Hey, as a black belt, can I ask your opinion on what happened at Fight to Win Pro this weekend between is it Wagner or Wagner? I'm not sure how to say his first name.
Wagner,
Rocha and AJ
So-
Arcazarm.
I was out there. I actually fought on the event. And I usually don't talk about people that I don't personally know. And my first face-to-face encounter with AJ was this Saturday. And Wagner's somebody who's been around, I guess, AJ's more up north. I'm down south here in Florida, so I have more interaction with Wagner and his students at tournaments and things like that. But I don't really know him personally.
Mm-hmm.
But you hear things, through the jiu-jitsu grapevine. And coming into the fights on Saturday, a lot of people in the jiu-jitsu community were like, "Oh, I guess we're gonna crown, it's the battle of the douchebags."
Oh, really?
So so see who the biggest douche in jiu-jitsu is. And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever," And then I guess AJ gets that rap because he talks online and stuff, and he's one of those guys that likes to talk up a big game. He seemed nice enough, he seemed pretty personable when I met him on Saturday for the first time. Wagner is somebody who, through the years, I guess you're in the local community. I get people filter into my gym who've been there. I have friends who know him, and I never hear anything particularly good, but I don't like to bag on anybody.
Sure.
It's kind of like the game telephone, I'm sure.
Yeah,
one person hears it, and by the time it
was
gets
just,
to
I guess you kind of saw who won,
right.
King of the Douches on Saturday.
So can you?
That's not cool. That's not what we do. That's not what we're about. So it was really ugly. Like.
Yeah. Oh, could you? Lee didn't see it, and actually, I didn't see it. Could you explain for people who missed it? Oh, you saw. I didn't see it, but I know specifically what happened.
Was there more that happened leading up to it?
So they've been talking crap to each other for weeks,
right?
Leading up to this thing. They've got bad blood going on from like way back. They fought before like ADCC events and things like that. So they're talking up the fight for like 2 weeks, and I guess AJ had his fight against Jake Shields and Polaris, and they slapped each other around, and
right.
There was something
Everybody
about
saw that,
how Wagner was going to slap him too, or things like that. So they go ahead. They start on Saturday. They don't even make any grips on each other's gis or anything. Next thing you know, Wagner just kind of slaps him across the face. AJ turns his back to kind of like shake it off, and he's walking off. And as he's walking towards the edge of the stage, Wagner just straight up hits him in the back with like a "this is Sparta" kind of kick,
right.
And kicked him clean off the stage into like a table full of kids. So It was just
super
really
classy.
Not cool.
So was there even a fight at any point? You said he slapped him and then he turned around, walked away.
And then he just kicked him, like he just kicked him off the stage, and then the promoter actually had to come out on the stage, and like it was weird. The promoter kind of came out, talked to AJ for a second, and then just made this kind of decision to just let the fight go on. There was like, do we DQ the guy or do we let it go on? So the promoter just kind of came out and he was like, look, no more crap. Have your match.
Yeah.
And then what was the outcome of the match?
That's over.
So what happened so they did actually.
So they finished the match, and then Wagner won by decision, but it was weird because there were a bunch of resets, so like they'd fight a little bit, they'd kind of get started in a position, it'd end up near the edge of the stage, and then move them from the edge of the stage back to the center, and whenever they would try to reset the position, there would be about 2 minutes of arguing.
Okay.
No,
I
my
didn't
leg
have
was
this,
here,
I
my
didn't
arm
have
was
that.
there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it was weird, and then it would kind of like the position would break apart, they'd go back to standing, and then it would happen all over again.
Okay, that actually leads me to 2 more questions. The first being, what is your personal opinion on the sub-only movement, and do you think that it is... How do you feel about points tournaments, and how do you feel about the sub-only tournament style? And also, then I'll ask my next question later because that could be a long thing. So go ahead and answer that. Yeah.
Okay, so I love the sub-only movement. I think that's real jiu-jitsu, where you can attack the guy with anything in any position. There's no, BS about advantages and stuff like that. Ideally, no time limit would be awesome. But as far as the sub-only stuff goes, I think rules-wise, the best format is the EBI format, because you can't hold these tournaments with 200, 300 competitors and, go no time limit on every match. It's just not feasible.
Right.
So for competitive purposes, you have to have some type of rule set in place. So I'm a big fan of the 10-minute EBI style match, and then if no subs, you go with the 3 overtimes.
Yeah.
Before I agreed to do the fight to win fight in the gi, I was actually training a lot more no gi with my friend Ruben Alvarez and some of the guys down here because I'm really intrigued by that.
That guy.
As far as
Kidding,
what I
we like
hear,
Ruben. That was a joke.
Yeah.
I said that guy. Ruben's our friend. He came on the podcast before. I was kidding.
As far as what I can hear, I mean, I train guys who do MMA. I train for gi matches. I train for no gi. My philosophy on jiu-jitsu as a whole is you should have one jiu-jitsu style for all formats. So whether it's self-defense, MMA, a gi fight, a no gi fight, you should have one skill set that you can kind of adapt to whatever the situation is.
Well, that was my next question for you. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted, as a black belt and as somebody who trains obviously in both styles often, I feel like you are really qualified to give us your opinion on both gi and no gi. Obviously, Becky and I train at 10th Planet. We're pretty, pro no gi.
Neither of us have ever owned or even tried on gi.
So I would love to hear from somebody who gets to train in both of them a lot, your opinion and the benefits of both, maybe.
I like to do a little bit of everything. I think it's important just to like expose yourself to as much as you can. Plus not every like for example, most competitions you'll go, it'll be like a Naga or a New Breed or one of the smaller events, and it'll be like they've got gi divisions and no gi divisions. Mm-hmm. Do both. Right. You get 2 divisions, 2 chances to compete. I'm all about as much mat time as you can get it. And competition is weird because competition is kind of like this separate animal. It's one thing to do jiu-jitsu and be on the mats and you're rolling, or one thing to do it for self-defense. Competition is its own thing. It depends on the rule set. You got to learn to play the game. So it's weird. You got to expose yourself to a lot of different stuff, because if this weekend I'm doing an EBI style format, I have to adapt myself to those rules. If next week I'm doing an IBJJF no gi event, then that's a different thing. How does my skill set adapt to that? So you kind of have to learn to play with your game and be able to execute no matter what the rule set. And that's a whole different skill to learn.
Do you have a personal preference?
I'm weird. I go through stages. I've been doing this a long time, and I'll go 6 months where I'm just like, I'm teaching the gi night, and I'm just like, I really don't want to be wearing this thing. I really don't want to do this. I want to do some leg locks right now. But then I'll go, then it'll be gi season. Like January will roll around and everybody's training for Worlds, and I'm like, okay, I just want to put on the gi, and it's all about grips and pressure and grinding on somebody. So it's weird. I go through stages.
Okay, that's fair.
Do you have a lot of female students here?
I actually do. I'm probably have more females on the mats than most of the other gyms in the area.
Oh, very cool.
I think it's we have got a cool vibe on the mat.
Nice. Nice. It seems to be. I'm trying to compete this weekend in Fort Lauderdale, and it's a struggle because there's like 2 women signed up now for the.
Yeah, I mean, my girls run into that a lot. I just had a girl this weekend compete. She did double gold, gi and no gi, and it was like slim pickings.
Yeah.
And then last weekend I had another one of my girls who had nobody in her weight class. Well, she had somebody in her weight, but the girl was a purple belt and she was a white belt. Oh. She's like, all right, I'll do it anyways.
Right.
And then they tried to give her another match, and it was like, well, we have a girl in your skill level, but she's 224 pounds. So that happens. And then in Florida, you also get a lot of like day of. There's still a lot of like, especially at the smaller events, you get a lot of like last minute day of registrations. Like Gracie Nationals is coming up this weekend in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
And
that's what I've been planning on.
That thing's gonna have people. It's just they're all gonna show up at the last minute, Cuban style, and just sign up because they want to go.
All right, so maybe
on Latin Standard Time, everybody shows up on Latin Standard Time. So what do you think the secret is? We talk about this a lot. What do you think, not the secret, but how do you approach getting women to join the sport? Because that's what we're all going through right now. We have a women's self-defense program at 10th Planet, and I like to think of it as like a gateway into jiu-jitsu. We show the women how cool it is, and then women who wouldn't think they would normally want to be in the sport, or they're like, oh yeah, this is badass, let's do this. So how do you attract women to come try this thing that they might not otherwise do?
I think a lot of that has to do with the environment in the gym, and also like, all right, you go to certain gyms and you walk in the door and there's kind of like a meathead environment, just a bunch of big, sweaty dudes.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know, I'd say it's not a woman friendly, I guess,
Yeah.
It's very misogynistic in nature. That's kind of the old school way. I like a more family oriented vibe. I I like to kind of like create an inclusive environment. And also, like, for me personally, like, I guess you walk in the door and you see a bunch of people sweating all over each other. That can be a little gross.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, the smell of the place, the look of the place, it's got to be inviting. The people have to be super nice, you know?
That's
you have
fair.
to kind of, like...
The aesthetics.
I think it's the same thing for women that it is for everybody else. For men, it's that first big step, right? The hard part is to come in the door, you know, and then step on the mat, and then what do they treat you like your first time, you know, or you know, people cracking inappropriate jokes in the corner, or you know, is it just like
someone manhandling?
Yeah, are you getting manhandled? You know, well, if you have a pleasant first experience, you know, that's not saying that it shouldn't be a tough experience, but if people are friendly, you know, if there's a friendly environment in the room, and it seems like you're getting your ass kicked, but everybody's there to like support you from day one, and they like want you there, and they're like trying to include you in the group.
Yeah,
I that makes people want to come back, you know, male or female.
So Daniel, as a gym owner, and then for Becky and Donna as female practitioners, would you ever see, or if I'm stealing an idea, Donna, I don't want to. I apologize, but do you see this ever getting to a place where there's a women's only gym, like a women's only jiu-jitsu gym?
I personally wouldn't want a women's only gym or to be a part of a women's only gym. I really like having teammates that are men, and I think it's challenging to have to roll with male partners. And you know, I see the wisdom in having a women's beginner class, because a lot of ladies aren't like Becky and I and the other ladies that we already train with, which are, you know, kind of hardcore tomboys that are. And Becky wasn't a hardcore, you know, she's still very girly girl. A lot of girls are, but they come in and they're like, oh yeah, I'm cool to jump in with the guys. You know what I mean? Like, I have no problem with that. There's several of us that are like that they're like, yeah, I'm down. I don't care about any of that stuff. Let's just do this. And the wisdom that I found is the women's only classes are a good buffer. Like, they come in and you do get female training partners who are, it's a little bit easier to be in those positions. You know, somebody's mounting you, somebody has you in triangle, somebody has, you know, is really close, and you're not used to being in close contact with people who you don't know like that. So it is easier to start off with other women, but I don't think it would serve you as an athlete to continue to only train with women. I think there's something to be said about having male teammates who, even at the same size, are able to be a little bit stronger, and so you have to become smarter in the way that you fight them.
Look at it even from a self-defense perspective. You know, if you're a woman, what's the situation you most fear?
Yeah.
You know, is to get attacked by a big, huge dude.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's important to be exposed to that as soon as possible.
I agree.
You know, I have a unique philosophy as far as my classes go. I don't divide my students into even fundamental or advanced classes. What I do is everybody has to be in the room together, right? So my classes also tend to be a little longer than most places.
So your classes are just mixed level classes?
Yeah, it's just, I do not separate, you know, fundamentals, intermediate, advanced. I don't do that. Everybody's got to be in the room together. I do about a 2-hour class, and then I make sure that the beginning portion of my class covers some kind of fundamental, and then, you know, whatever techniques I choose to do that night, whether it's something beginner, intermediate, or advanced level, everybody has to be in the room for it. I think it's beneficial to white belts to be exposed to techniques that maybe they can't do right away, you know, because even if their bodies don't move a certain way, it kind of opens them up to, when they see the higher level guys able to execute certain things, it opens up your imagination to what you're going to be able to do and how you're going to be able to explore your movement. Yeah. And it also keeps the higher level guys disciplined, you know, because you have to come back and you have to touch on your fundamentals, and you have to grab a white belt out of the corner by the hand and help them on their journey. You know, I believe that the true mark of how well you know something is whether you can teach it.
So I totally agree
everybody on the mats, even my higher guys, they have to contribute. And as far as the whole gender thing, I think it's more of a state of mind thing, you know? Like, I don't do women's only classes, but if I ever, like, let's say I have a girl who comes in and she's interested and she seems really tentative about jumping in there with the dudes. then what I usually do is I recommend they do a private with me, because that to me is like it's more of a state of mind thing. It's something that I think girls get kind of trained into from a very young age, you know, to behave a certain way, to not do certain things. Certain sports are for girls, certain sports are for guys, and that to me is all BS.
Totally agree.
You know, I think it's just, you have to come in and speak to the person and go, look, these are the situations you're going to encounter. You have to be mentally prepared for X, Y, and Z, and you have to understand why we're doing this. You know, this position may seem uncomfortable, like guard. You know, guard is something we spend, 70% of our time in jiu-jitsu, and we get on the mats and we don't think about it anymore. But a lot of girls come in and they're like, I don't want to do it in between my legs like that. It's just super weird. You know, I don't even know this guy's name. He's 200 pounds soaked in sweat, and he wants to get in between my legs because this is the move we're drilling. You know, it's weird.
Yeah.
But you have to put it in perspective, you know?
As far as self-defense goes, I love talking to women about the guard position. You know, and letting them know that obviously this seems like it could be a scary position for a woman, but what if I were to tell you that this is a really deadly position, that this is where you can be so dangerous?
I don't know how many thousands of times I've seen girls come in and they're doing their first, second, third roll and just unconsciously give up side control or mount or give back just because they don't want to wrap their legs around someone because their Cuban mom was like, you know, niña, tú no abres las piernas, you know, like, don't open your legs, you know, and here in Miami, it's like Hispanic culture, it's the thing.
Right. No, that is a very legit concern and problem that I think a lot of women face when they first start.
You know, we spend so much time on the mats, we don't think about that stuff anymore.
No, you know, at this point, all of us are like, meh, we don't care.
Yeah. My academy has windows all along the front, and there are restaurants and things a couple doors down. When we're in here at night...
There's a pizza place next door.
There's a pizza place next door. when we're in here at night, people are walking by, watching us, and we're just doing our thing, not thinking about it. And every now and then, a couple of us will realize, like, yo, those people are in here thinking, like, what kind of sex moves are these people practicing, you know? Like, what is going on in there? That does not look like karate.
We joke about that all the time.
Jiu-jitsu at the beach, or jiu-jitsu beach parties, over the summer. We started them last year, and we get those same people that are walking by, because we just throw out mats on like in a park area there, and so there's, you know, a bunch of people walking by, and they stop by and they're walking by and they're like, what's going on over there? Like, what is that guy doing to that girl, or what's that girl doing to that guy?
Totally. Yeah, we joke about that all the time. But speaking of, on a lighter note, which you totally don't have to answer, on Mat Therapy, we like to talk about a little thing called Sex-Jitsu, which is, do you have any moves that you can actually translate into your sex life from jiu-jitsu that come in handy?
Well, he was quick to answer that.
Man, I'm gonna keep it PG.
I think it might have got a little warm in the gym there. You're a little red.
Talk about the position, what it's called here on
Look,
the mats.
Butterfly hooks come in very helpful, is all I'm saying.
You're gonna have to just like do a demonstration of butterfly hooks, because every
we'll
time
bring
you bring
Jonathan
it up,
in. We'll bring Jonathan in, and I'll do it.
Well, yeah, not like on not like sexually, but like I just don't even know what butterfly hooks are. And every time you bring up Sex-Jitsu, you say butterfly hooks.
Put the camera on me. Your butterfly hooks are when you use this part of your foot.
Okay.
Right here.
Right.
Can you see me on camera?
Yeah.
Okay. It's this part of your foot, and so if you need to like grab on for leverage with your butterfly hooks, you just.
Lee's voice. Like,
you use it for leverage to grab on.
Okay, I like it.
Hi, babe. Hi, Jonathan.
People can describe jiu-jitsu moves, and it just sounds super sexual.
Yeah.
Right?
It just sounds really weird.
You're like, I know this sounds weird, but really, this is what.
Look, all I'm saying is sometimes the things that are beneficial in jiu-jitsu can translate. I'm not saying that everything in jiu-jitsu is sexual. I'm just saying that some things can translate.
Oh, absolutely. That butterfly mount can totally translate.
Yeah.
You don't even have to get into positions. Just hip pressure and cardio.
There you go. Hip pressure and cardio.
That's a different one. We haven't gotten that one.
That's a new Sex-Jitsu shirt.
Danny, kind of on the same note, has anybody you ever dated done jiu-jitsu with you, or do you bring them into the gym, or do you keep that separate?
Are they allowed in?
Okay, so my girlfriend has been with me almost as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu. We've been together 12 years or so. And I have tried so many times to get her on the mats.
Seriously?
And I convinced her. I think the most I ever got out of her was a couple of months. And she actually got to like her first stripe and her white belt. But she's just not about that.
All right.
You know? But I have a lot of people here that come in, and then the next thing you know, they're dragging their girlfriend or their boyfriend on the mat, and there you go. Like,
yeah.
You know, the kids I had compete this weekend, 2 did double gold. One was one of my purple belt guys, and the other one was his girlfriend, who also did double gold.
Nice. I think it makes your relationship stronger. My husband is now, he just got his blue belt. And since he started training, we already had a great relationship, but there's just something to sharing this together that is awesome. We talk about it. You know, we push each other to go train maybe when one of us is tired and we're like, no, we got to get up and go. Let's do this. And I think it's made our relationship even better. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I have couples here that are not allowed to drill together.
Why?
Because they start bickering about stuff.
That I have experienced that one.
That's true. I could see that happening.
Like stuff outside of the gym, like, or inside, like they'll bicker about jiu-jitsu.
Like, for example, I'll put one of the girls together with one of my biggest, heaviest guys, and he'll straight up just be manhandling her, and she won't care. But then if I put her together with her boyfriend and he pulls her hair by accident, he's like, stop it, you're such a dick. Why are you going on me? Why are you being so hard? So it's like, okay, you guys aren't allowed to be together.
I could see that. Yeah.
That was my previous experience several years ago. Was I would just be like, can you just stop coaching me and just...
That's another thing too. You know, the boyfriends, I guess they really want their girlfriend to be good.
Right.
You know, so they're a little harder on them than they are on other people, and then they notice, and it's like, okay, you're being a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's weird. You know, it depends on the couple. I've had other people who, you know, are great drilling and rolling together, and just they're fine.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the couple. Sure.
I definitely think it's good that you drag each other here. You know, that's one thing, is no matter, you know, whether what the dynamic is on the mat, they make each other come to class. All of them do. So that's good. You know.
Well, it's good
like
in that when you're committed to the sport, it takes time. It takes commitment to, you know, give up, you know, going out to maybe dinner with a friend or something like that. So when both of you are committed to it, it's pretty cool, because, you know, having one partner who's like, we got to go have dinner with my mom, and the other partner's like, no, I got to go to class. What are you talking about? That could cause a problem. So it's cool in that way. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Understand better.
For sure. So what else is going on down there at your school? Are you a promoter? Do you ever throw tournaments? Or are you just strictly a coach and a competitor yourself? My
number one priority is teaching. I mean, I don't even compete as much as I should, just because I'm really dedicated to teaching. You know, we do every tournament we can get our hands on. You know, we've got Gracie Regionals coming up. After that, we've got a smaller event called Grappling Games. After that, we're doing the IBJJF Miami Open. So it's nonstop. Every week or two, we're off to some tournament, or I have some MMA fighter who I'm going to go corner or something like that. So that's priority number one for me. Second, I'll jump into some tournaments. I'm thinking about doing Gracie Nationals this weekend, just because I'm a little salty about the decision loss from Saturday.
Like, I'm going to go to a sub-only tournament. What is your... Sorry, Beck, go ahead.
Coaches to compete, to continue competing?
I think it's important that they have experience, definitely. You know, I'm somebody who's fought MMA. I've done gi at a high level. I've done no gi events at a high level. You know, I think it's important because it brings a unique perspective to the pressure. The psychological side of it is a big thing that's not often discussed. But, you know, I know a lot of great coaches who aren't hardcore competitors. They're just dedicated to teaching. You know, it's a whole different game. It's a completely different side of things, you know.
Coaching?
Yeah, coaching and competing are two completely different things. Even just coming to the gym and rolling, you know, is completely different from going to a competition and doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I ask, what is your favorite part of coaching?
You know, I love to see my students do well, but it's not.
We lost you guys.
I mean,
Oh,
2 years.
Back up
yeah.
about 30 seconds. Go back to the beginning of that sentence. Yeah, we lost you right at the beginning of it.
Rewind.
Tell me about your favorite part of coaching.
Okay. You know, I like to see my students do well. Like lately, last few years, we've gone to events and we've gone like team championships and things like that, and that's really cool. But my favorite thing is just to see people come out of their shell, you know?
Yeah.
To see someone get on the mats who maybe had like self-confidence issues or things like that, and to see them just kind of like be comfortable in their own skin, to see how jiu-jitsu can change someone's life in a positive way is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
You know, in the world.
Oh no, is the hurricane coming? We keep losing you guys. Is it there right now? What's going
No,
on
not
outside?
yet.
It's crappy Wi-Fi.
It could be the Wi-Fi. You guys are coming through loud and clear, though.
Are we? Yeah, you guys are cutting out just a little bit.
What is the scene down like in Florida? Because in California, it's huge. It's Southern California, especially. Just driving down, like within walking distance. I think I can walk to
throw
4 of
rocks,
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting like that here. There's a lot of jiu-jitsu in Florida. I think the 3 places you'll find the most jiu-jitsu in the U.S. are California, New York, and Florida.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old school guys down here who've been here for a while. I think Florida was one of the first like jiu-jitsu hotbeds, and then
It
for
makes
some
sense,
reason,
like you said, but
yeah.
you know, it's the closest part of the country to Brazil. The weather's
Yeah.
probably very similar.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much: I definitely like the vibe out west a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, I've
The
trained
jiu-jitsu vibe?
The jiu-jitsu vibe out west is a lot cooler. It's way more chill. You
Really?
know,
We're pretty cool in
there's
California.
still a lot of old school hardcore gyms you'll run into down here. They're all about that. Don't be a creonchi. Don't go train with anybody else. All that stuff. You know, you run into that.
Yeah, we're pretty
there's
open
definitely,
out here.
A dramatic environment in the Florida jiu-jitsu community.
Wow. So I want to ask you a little bit of something in your background. You were certified in nonviolent crisis prevention and intervention, and you also have a history or a background in psychology with children with mental, physical, and emotional conditions. Can you tell us about that a little bit, and how does that translate into your coaching?
So my whole thing is the way I look at things. My jiu-jitsu is all brain power. You know, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was maybe 130 pounds, soaking wet. I was getting my butt kicked by everybody, so I had to become very technical. So everything is analysis, and then at the same time, I was going to school, getting my degrees, you know, and I started.
Oh,
Like that. So I started looking at things from the mental perspective a lot, you know, and I look at everything as like this process of analysis. I like to say that jiu-jitsu is kind of like the lens I look at the world through, but I'm always analyzing, you know, the efficiency of a technique, how a person feels, you know, it's weird. There's so many different dynamics that go on from like the fear someone feels in a self-defense situation, or
the
adrenaline you get at a competition,
right,
or the social vibe in the academy. You know, there's this battle inside people's minds between being competitive and being cooperative. You know, and it's weird because in jiu-jitsu, in order to get good, you need a highly cooperative environment. You know, there can't be any ego on the mat. Everybody's got to be on the same page. If you're competing with your teammates, then he's not showing you his best stuff. You're not showing him your best stuff, or you guys are just trying to kill each other all the time. If you guys are like the best of friends and there's a cool vibe there, and you guys are, there's no ego and you're sharing with everybody and everybody's learning from everybody, everybody gets better faster, you know? And then there's that competitive side, and where people are like, it's all ego driven, and it's really weird. It's really interesting to see, you know. As far as like the kids and stuff like that, it's made me really good with, you know, kids who are shy, kids who come in who don't necessarily have things like ADHD or, you know, or autism or things like that, which I've also worked with them, but like just kids who are a little shy, a little introverted, you know. It's given me the ability to handle people a certain way, where it's like I'm sensitive to the way people are, and I feel like that's also why I've created a really inclusive environment in the gym, and everybody who comes here loves to come here, you know, because I'm sensitive to the way people feel, and I try to give them what they need psychologically instead of just moves.
Physically.
That makes sense.
You know?
What exactly is nonviolent crisis prevention and intervention? Like, would you work with the police?
Yeah,
where would you use that?
For a very short period of time, I worked at at a lockdown psychiatric facility at a hospital.
Okay.
So basically, if a kid gets caught by the police and he's hopped up on drugs, or somebody has a mental break or something like that, they do what's called a Baker Act. So they send you to the hospital, and for 72 hours, you're essentially on like a locked down floor where you're under like psych evaluation.
Right.
Right?
150
kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes they can get violent and try to hurt the staff and things like that. And then you need to know how to restrain someone without injuring them physically and without allowing them to injure you. So that's kind of a specialization that I have. And then I've worked with police officers, people in the military, people who work at psychiatric units and things like that, just to kind of help them with that. Because I feel like that's something that's lacking. You know?
Definitely.
Especially if you look at all the stuff that's going on now, you know, with law enforcement and the shootings and all that stuff. I think that's definitely an area where improvement is needed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, especially
We talked
when
with
dealing
Ruben
with
about
people
that a
have-
little bit. Do you
Yeah.
what
Do you
what's
have any, do you have any cops that train?
I do. I have a few police officers from several different precincts. I have someone and I have someone who's a border patrol agent.
How do you
So,
think as a
couple
jiu-jitsu community we can reach out to law enforcement and, you know, help them? I think we all agree, everybody who does jiu-jitsu and who's experienced the kind of transformation it can make in your life, but also because of the skills that it gives you, how do you think as a community we could reach out to law enforcement in the community and say, hey, look, we have this thing that could help. Like, why aren't more of you training and doing this? Because, you know, we learned something really scary when Ruben came to train, or at least it was scary to me, is that the amount of training the police get, they're only required to have a very short amount of training, and then they just kind of send them out into the world with people's lives in their hands, and we are witnessing how that's not enough. It's not enough training. So how do we how can we help, because we know we have something that can help?
I mean, that's an interesting. I had a really interesting discussion about that with Ruben and our friend Freddie Trillo, he's a really, really, really great jiu-jitsu instructor, and he's also a veteran of the SWAT team and the police force for, I think, like 20 years or something like that.
Wow.
And there's a lot of, I think, bureaucracy that makes it difficult for police officers to get out and get training. You know, I've done things like offer months, you know, free without charge for police officers to come in and train.
Right.
I have a standing discount where anybody who's in law enforcement comes in and they get like a 20% discount and they can come in and train. But I think it's more than that, you know. I guess I come at it at a different angle from those guys because I have the psychology background. Because jiu-jitsu in itself is a really great skill set to have, and I think law enforcement as a whole would benefit greatly from it. But there also has to be the component of learning to deal with people a different way, you know. One of the things that bugs me the most is when you see someone, you know, with special needs have an encounter with the police. Like there was one, I think, a week ago.
In Pasadena.
Yeah, out in Cali, you know, where it was somebody who his sister called specifically requesting someone with psychological training come out because her brother is a person with special needs who was having an episode. And the police showed up, and because of the lack of training, you look what happened, and he was shot.
Right.
You know, I think there's a lot of things to look at. I think the term community policing is important, you know, getting to know the area you work in, the people you are. At the same time, you got to realize police work is a very, very dangerous job, you know.
Right.
But there has to be a way. There has to be a way that, from the bureaucratic standpoint, within, you know, the organizations in charge of police work, that they can look at the problem and say, look, we have to offer this type of training and this type of training to our officers in order to improve the safety.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the safety of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But both, you know.
For sure.
I think right now it seems most of it is kind of left up to the individual to decide whether they're going to do it on their own or not. And, you know, just like anybody else outside of that, you know, they're working all day. They work, you know, so many hours a week that they, you know, people get tired, and it's not they're not motivated to go do any sort of extracurricular.
Right. So it should be part of their training.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up to the officer to go get extra training. It should be it should be part of their training to be well qualified to hold people's lives in your hands and to de-escalate situations where, you know, it's ending up with people on the street because the officer got scared. You know, you need to have better training.
Even the guns that they hold, how much training do they have for that?
Right.
And how much continued training do they have to have for
right.
that?
You know,
it's not much.
You shouldn't have to get off a shift where you've just been policing the worst neighborhood in town, doing a largely thankless job.
Right.
And then you're exhausted at the end of your workday, and then you have to go pay money out of your pocket.
Right.
I totally agree.
Get adequate training. There's something wrong there.
Yeah, I agree. It should be part of their training, and, you know, maybe at some point somebody will get wise to it and start bringing in instructors to work with police officers on a regular basis. I think that would change everything. Everybody who does this sport knows you do this. Mm-hmm. It just changes the way you deal with life in general, and it could help so much in these situations that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox. That's all I have to say about that. Bex, do you have any shout-outs you want to give all the way from Miami?
I do. I've got 2 this week. So.
And you better bring back some Cuban sandwiches or something from your trip. Some pork.
I think I could probably do better than Cuban sandwiches for you, because a Cuban sandwich is it's kind of hard to fuck that one up, really.
Really?
She needs to bring you guys back some Cuban coffee.
Okay, bring it.
Bricks of Cuban coffee. That's where it's at.
All right, Becky, do that shit.
Like it's like Cuban crack. I had a bunch of it this morning. I'm not going to sleep for a while.
That's why there is no meth epidemic in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Because you have Cuban coffee?
It's called Cuban coffee. Dennis Jones.
What's up, Dennis?
It's a new listener, as well as Mark Hernandez, who just found us recently and is a fan. So
awesome.
Thanks.
Sauce. So we're recording this episode on Monday. If you're not watching it live, you'll get to hear it on Wednesday when we usually record. But instead of a Woman Crush Wednesday, today we're going to do a Man Crush Monday because it's Monday, but also because there's a really important thing that we need everybody in the Jiu-Jitsu and MMA community and everybody to know about. Kenny Bond, who's a black belt of street sports Jiu-Jitsu and the head instructor of Street Sports Simi Valley. Last week, doctors found 3 tumors in his brain and had to perform emergency surgery to remove them. They were successful in the surgery, which is amazing, but now Kenny has a huge recovery ahead of him. His job is to teach jiu-jitsu, and we all know that he's not going to be able to do that for a while, and his family's going to need help. His gym needs help. So there's a GoFundMe. If there you can do anything to help with the astronomical bills that of course he will receive. We're not even going to talk about healthcare, but the bills, I'm sure he's going to have tons of them. So if you want to go to GoFundMe.com/KennyBond, KennyBond, show him some love, show him that we are a huge community in jiu-jitsu and MMA, and that we will get behind somebody and support them through their hard times. And much love to you, Kenny, and everybody at Street Sports Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. And that's all I have to say about that. Daniel, thank you.
Share that link later.
Oh, it's on our Facebook page and on our Twitter, and I'll definitely repost it again. Daniel, if everybody wants to follow you in your journey with all your students and everything going on at Daniel Perez BJJ, how can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Just type in DanielPerezBJJ.com, or also my website, DanielPerezBJJ.com, or just Daniel Perez BJJ. Find me.
Awesome. Bex, when you're down there, and if anybody wants to say hi to you when you're down in Miami, how do they find you?
As always, I mean, all my links are on BeckyDominguez.com, but Bex and Violence is my handle on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So I will be posting things from here in Miami through the next week while I'm here.
Do that shit. Daniel, I hope you come visit us next time you're in California. We'd love to have you come into HQ and hang out with us. I
absolutely
would love to come down to Miami and hang out with you guys. That would be awesome.
Make her train with me tomorrow.
Becky, go train with him tomorrow. Damn it.
Oh, I'm going to ride the hurricane out here.
Do it.
You should do
that, or at my aunt's house with tequila. I don't know.
Do like a Facebook Live or a Periscope. That'd be pretty fun.
You should. Oh, yeah. You should Facebook Live from, I'm sure there won't be any interruptions from the feed.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll
be nice and clean.
Just loud and clear.
Yeah, nice and clean and beautiful. Hey, if anybody out there wants to start a podcast, Lee, what should they do and who should they call?
They should call, or they should go to leesideconsulting.com. And thank you to everyone. I've gotten a couple from this podcast, so thank you very much.
Woo-hoo.
It's leesideconsulting.com.
Awesome. And you can always go to donnagonzalez.com and find out about Mat Therapy and 10th Planet Women's Self-Defense and everything else that's going on. Daniel, you're awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And MatTherapyLife.com. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, bitches.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Are you guys still on?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello.